Ville and Oakvale communities are welcoming a new spiritual addition to the area. A tiny prayer chapel, that is currently being constructed on the side of Kellysville Road. It's being done by Stephen Miller, who says he's building this chapel in honor of his parents, Linda and Ron Miller, who have ministered thousands of people over the years. Miller began construction on September 1st of 2023, exactly 1 year after his father, Ron, passed away. Our Jessica Nuzzo shares a closer look.
My father was a minister in the Church of God, and he's pastored several locations across the state, Clarksburg, Wine Oak, Mayberry, and my mother and father have ministered to thousands of people and changed thousands of lives, and I wanted his legacy to continue, so I thought a good way to continue his legacy would be to have a prayer chapel. The church bells have a certain sound and a certain ring to those old bells. I would say I've probably got maybe 300 hours in it at this point. Probably need to do that again to finish it. It's a labor of love, so I'll do whatever I have to do to finish it.
I'm hoping that it'll make people more aware of God and that their access to God, that there's no hindrances in reaching out to Him. I mean, it's just, you can talk to God just like you would be talking to your best friend. You know, He knows, He understands, but He does want that relationship with us, and we do that through prayer.
My father's favorite Bible verse was Psalms 122:1. And we're going to have family members write verses on the inside of the church, possibly prayer requests too, before I put the sheetrock up. And that way, they'll always be part of the church. Great-grandfather built a prayer chapel in Parsons in 1958. And it is in Elkins now. They moved the chapel, and it is still in Elkins, West Virginia. It's the little church in Elkins, West Virginia. So that kind of sparked the idea because this had already been done once in our family by my great-grandfather, and people are still using it to this day. Everybody that has stopped by, I've told them, I said, yes, it's going to be open to the public. It's going to be where you can write your name, leave your prayer request. You can pray for other people's requests. You can leave your request. And that's kind of what I wanted to do, was continue my dad's ministry, because he loved people, and he was so into helping people and praying for people. And I thought, what better way to honor him than a prayer chapel?
A heartwarming story there. Again, that was brought to us by Jessica Nuzzo, sharing those sights and sounds. Thank you very much, Jessica. Now, there will be a dedication ceremony open to the public on April 27th. That'll be held at 2 p.m.